All right, so get ready, because today we're taking a deep dive into the Book of Enoch. You know, the book that didn't quite make it into the Bible.
Yeah, a lot of people have heard of it, right?
Yeah, it's got angels, giants, and all sorts of wild stuff. But today, we're going deeper than just the surface to figure out what's so captivating about this book, especially its take on the early days of humanity. We're using this online article to help guide our deep dive, so let's unravel this together.
What's super interesting is that this book isn't just some standalone thing. Like back in 1947 when they discovered those Dead Sea Scrolls,
Oh, yeah.
it really shook things up. They've found fragments of the Book of Enoch tucked in there,
Oh, wow.
along with all these other texts, and it gave us a whole new window into what ancient Jewish beliefs and practices were like.
It's like finding a hidden library, right?
Yeah.
A treasure chest full of ancient knowledge. And the fact that the Book of Enoch was in there,
Yeah.
it kind of makes you wonder, doesn't it?
Oh, yeah.
Why wasn't it included in the Bible? What made it so different?
Well, one of the biggest differences you'll find is how they portray Enoch himself. Like in the Bible, he's mentioned, but it's brief, just as a righteous dude who walked with God.
Right.
But the Book of Enoch, it goes way deeper.
All right.
It's not just walking with God. It's more like he's this prophet having divine revelations and traveling to these crazy otherworldly realms.
Sounds more like an interdimensional road trip with God.
Right.
What kind of stuff did he even encounter in those realms?
So his journey is actually detailed across 5 different books within the Book of Enoch.
Whoa, okay.
And one of the most interesting themes is how he interacts with these celestial beings, these watchers.
Okay, the Watchers.
Fallen angels who rebelled against God and came down to earth.
So fill me in on this whole forbidden knowledge thing with the Watchers. I got to hear more about that.
The Book of Enoch is saying that these watchers, they actually shared knowledge with humans,
Wow.
leading to advancements in all sorts of fields, metalworking,
Okay.
astronomy, even medicine. And that's where things get really interesting. Like, did those advancements explain some of the unexplained things ancient civilizations did? Maybe that's why the book was left out.
Too radical a concept. Forbidden knowledge. Ancient civilizations doing crazy things. It does make you think, doesn't it?
Yeah.
But hold on, what about these giants?
Oh, yeah.
The Nephilim. Are they just myths or what?
Right, the Nephilim.
Yeah.
The kids of the Watchers and human women, described as giants who walked the earth.
Okay.
Now, whether you take that literally is up to you, but it's interesting that the Nephilim aren't just in the Book of Enoch. You actually see them mentioned in the Bible, too.
Really?
Yeah, in Numbers.
Hold on. So the Bible talks about giants,
Yeah.
but then excludes this whole book that goes into detail about them. That seems a little weird, doesn't it?
It's a head-scratcher for sure. Makes you wonder if the Book of Enoch is giving us a totally different look at history than the traditional biblical account. Maybe a perspective that was just too much for the people who put the Bible together.
Challenging the status quo can ruffle some feathers, but if the Book of Enoch is presenting a different historical view, what's it actually saying? Is there anything out there to back up its claims?
That's where those ancient Sumerian texts come in.
Okay.
The Sumerians had stories, too, about powerful beings coming down from the sky. The Anunnaki. They were supposed to have shaped human civilization.
Wait, so we have 2 completely different cultures, separated by like tons of time and distance, telling similar stories. Is that just a coincidence, or is there something more going on here?
That's the big question, right?
Yes.
Are these cultures just telling the same story with different names, or is there a deeper connection?
A shared historical event that's been echoing for generations.
It's pretty wild to think about.
Forbidden knowledge, giants, ancient encounters with beings from the sky. It's like something from a sci-fi movie. But it's all rooted in these ancient texts. So where do we even go from here?
Well, before we jump into the really out there stuff, let's take a look at the historical and cultural context of the Book of Enoch itself. Why wasn't it included in the Bible? What were the politics and religion of the time?
Okay, let's pull back the curtain on biblical canon formation.
Figuring out which texts made it into the Bible and which didn't is a whole thing.
Oh, yeah.
It wasn't just a simple decision. You had power struggles, these big theological debates. It was intense.
It sounds more like a boardroom battle than a divine decree. So why was the Book of Enoch left out specifically?
Well, some scholars think it was because of the book's unique views, especially when it came to angels.
Angels.
The Book of Enoch, it really dives deep into the angelic world way more than the Bible does.
Okay.
It talks about their hierarchy, what they do, even their rebellions.
Sounds pretty detailed.
Oh, yeah, and that might have been too much for some people back then. Too elaborate, maybe even a bit unsettling.
So it's like the Book of Enoch gave the angels this whole backstory, and the Bible kept it simple.
Exactly. And then there's that whole thing about forbidden knowledge from the Watchers. It really challenges how we think about human progress and divine revelation.
Right, like humans getting advanced knowledge from someone other than God.
Yeah.
Would have been pretty controversial back then. It kind of messes with the whole chosen people narrative.
Definitely. And let's not forget how the book portrays the Nephilim.
The giants.
The Bible just mentions them briefly, but the Book of Enoch, it goes all in. It talks about where they came from, what they did, how they were defeated.
So it's not just about mentioning giants. It's about exploring their role in everything, their impact on humans, and even their part in divine judgment.
Exactly. And you can imagine how those themes would have stirred up some controversy back then. People would have interpreted them in all sorts of ways. Maybe that's another reason why they decided to leave the book out.
It's too bad because the Book of Enoch doesn't just offer a different view on angels and giants. It also provides some really interesting insights into astronomy and cosmology.
Absolutely. There's a whole section on the movements of stars and planets. The calendar even hints at astronomical knowledge that seems way ahead of its time.
Wait, are you saying the Book of Enoch talks about advanced astronomy from like way back when?
Yeah.
Are we suggesting that Enoch maybe got this knowledge from the Watchers? Or from, like, aliens?
It's a pretty intriguing thought. The book doesn't explicitly say where this knowledge came from, but it definitely raises questions about how humans came to understand the cosmos.
My mind is officially blown. Forbidden knowledge, giants, advanced astronomy. The Book of Enoch is like this treasure chest of ancient secrets.
And it doesn't stop there. The Book of Enoch also touches on some interesting concepts about energy and its potential.
Energy.
It describes lightning and thunder in a way that suggests they knew more about these forces than we thought they did.
Hold on, are we talking about ancient knowledge of electricity? That's crazy. What kind of details does it give?
Well, the descriptions are pretty poetic, but there are parts that hint at the idea of harnessing and controlling the power of lightning.
Wow, so not only do we have fallen angels and giants, but we might have ancient electrical knowledge too. The Book of Enoch is sounding more and more like a sci-fi novel.
Let's not get too carried away. We're still talking about ancient texts here, texts that people interpret in different ways. But it's definitely fascinating to think that the Book of Enoch could contain glimpses of knowledge that was way ahead of its time.
Yeah, that's true. But even if we're cautious, the Book of Enoch still challenges a lot of traditional views on history and human knowledge. It's like it's giving us this missing piece, showing us that we don't know everything we thought we did.
It's like looking at a puzzle and suddenly seeing a whole section come together.
Exactly. And that's what makes exploring these ancient texts so rewarding. It pushes us to question what we believe, to open our minds to new possibilities, and to embrace the mystery surrounding our origins. And speaking of mysteries, there's one thing about the Book of Enoch that I've always found really intriguing. The part where Enoch transforms into the angel Metatron. What's the deal with this character?
Metatron, a figure of mystery and wonder.
For sure.
In Jewish mystical traditions, he's one of the highest-ranking angels, sometimes even called the Lesser Yahweh or the King of the Angels.
Wow, that's quite the promotion from shepherd to angel of that caliber.
Wow.
What's the meaning behind this transformation?
It's seen as a fusion of the human and the divine. It shows us that we all have the potential to rise above our earthly limitations and reach a higher level of spiritual understanding.
So it's not just a title change, it's a complete transformation of his being, a blending of mortal and immortal. That's a pretty deep concept.
Absolutely. It suggests that humans aren't just earthly creatures. We're capable of evolving spiritually, of ascending to realms of knowledge and power beyond what we normally see.
This is all so fascinating, but I can't help but wonder, if Enoch's story is so important, why is it mostly missing from the Bible itself? Are there any hints of his experiences or teachings in the biblical stories?
There are some interesting parallels, especially in the story of Noah and the flood. Remember, Enoch was taken up to heaven before the flood, so he didn't experience the destruction that everyone else did. And then his great-grandson, Noah, gets chosen to build the ark and save a remnant of humanity and the animals.
So it's like a family tradition of divine intervention, right?
Yeah.
Like grandfather, like great-grandson.
You could say that. And some scholars even believe that the story of Noah's Ark might have been inspired by older accounts, like the one in the Book of Enoch, which also talks about a huge flood and the saving of the righteous.
It's like this cosmic game of telephone, with each generation passing down the story, adding their own spin on it, but keeping the main message intact. That message being that humanity has a way of straying from the right path, and there are consequences for those actions.
And that there are forces at play that we can't control, cosmic events that can shape our destiny and challenge how we view the world.
So it's not just about angels and giants. It's about grappling with the big questions, like what is good and evil? What are the results of our choices? And does a higher power even exist?
Exactly. The Book of Enoch invites us to think about those mysteries, to question what we think we know, and to consider the possibility that there's more to our history and the universe than we can see.
I feel like I need a whiteboard to map all of this out.
Maybe that's the biggest lesson we can take from diving into the Book of Enoch. It's not about finding all the answers, but about opening our minds to new ideas and possibilities. It reminds us that history isn't always clear-cut. It's woven together from different stories and perspectives, some of which have been hidden for a long time.
Like we've been given this magnifying glass, and now we're seeing all these intricate details that we never noticed before. And the more we look, the more we realize how much there is to discover.
And that's what makes it so exciting, right? The Book of Enoch isn't a finished story. It's an open door to more exploration, to dig deeper and keep talking about its meaning and importance.
Yeah, it really makes you think. It's crazy how we started with this book that was left out of the Bible, and now we're talking about cosmic telephone and ancient electricity.
It is a pretty wild journey.
But before we go too far down the rabbit hole, I'm still curious about those parallels between the Book of Enoch and the story of Noah's Ark.
It is a fascinating connection for sure. You have these cataclysmic events, chosen people, this feeling of divine intervention. It makes you wonder if the story of the flood we know from the Bible was shaped by these older stories.
Like the Book of Enoch is giving us a sneak peek behind the scenes at what might have inspired those biblical stories.
Right, and that's what I love about exploring these ancient texts. They make us question everything we thought we knew. They make us look deeper and appreciate how complex and rich human history and storytelling really are.
It's like we're putting together a huge puzzle, and the Book of Enoch is this missing piece that suddenly makes a whole section of the picture clear.
Exactly. And what's even more interesting is that the Book of Enoch doesn't just connect with ancient stories and traditions. It also ties in with some modern-day theories and beliefs.
Oh, really? Give me an example.
Well, think about the Watchers and how they interacted with humans. Some people point to those descriptions as evidence for the ancient astronaut theory.
You mean the theory that aliens visited Earth a long time ago and influenced how human civilization developed?
Exactly. It just shows how powerful these stories are. They still capture our imagination, challenge our beliefs, and make us consider possibilities that are outside of conventional thinking.
I gotta admit, the Book of Enoch has definitely made me rethink some of my own ideas about history, spirituality, even reality itself. It's like it's opened up a whole world of possibilities.
That's the beauty of it all. There aren't always clear-cut answers. It's about the journey of exploring the thrill of discovering something new and realizing that there's always more to learn.
So where do we go from here? What are the key things we should take away from this deep dive into the Book of Enoch?
The biggest takeaway, I think, is to keep an open mind. The Book of Enoch challenges us to look beyond what's familiar, to question what we think we know, and consider different perspectives. It reminds us that history isn't always a straight line. It's more like a tapestry made up of different threads, some of which have been hidden or lost over time.
It's like we've been given this magnifying glass to examine all the little details of that tapestry, and the more we look, the more we realize how much there is to see.
And that's what makes it so exciting, right? The Book of Enoch isn't the end of the story. It's an invitation to keep exploring, do more research, and keep talking about what it all means.
Well, on that note, I want to thank you for guiding us through this incredible deep dive. You've definitely given us a lot to ponder. And to all our listeners out there, if you're interested in what you've heard today, I encourage you to check out the Book of Enoch for yourselves. Read it with an open mind, a curious spirit, and be ready to embrace the mysteries it holds.
And remember, the journey is just as important as the destination. So keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep diving deep.